Chapter 1. Introduction to the Walls. The heavy doors of Monroe Maximum Security Prison creak open, releasing the sharp scent of institutional sterility into the air. Within these walls, time feels suspended, a paradox of confinement and the ceaseless march of life outside. This audiobook peels back the layers of this imposing environment, revealing the heartbeat of humanity that resides within. Through a tapestry of diary entries and poignant monologues, listeners will traverse the raw emotions and complex realities faced by a diverse group of inmates. Accompanying ambient sounds, the clanking of metal doors, distant echoes of laughter, and muffled conversations create a visceral backdrop, immersing you in the daily rhythms of prison life. Each character, shaped by both circumstance and choice, lends a unique voice to this exploration of resilience, redemption, and the enduring quest for hope. Welcome to the world behind bars, where stories entwine and the echoes of humanity resonate. Chapter 2. Evelyn's Fight for Justice. Evelyn Eve Lewis sits in her cell, the weight of injustice heavy on her heart. Her first diary entry captures the raw pain of being wrongfully convicted for a crime she didn't commit. "I was a teacher, dedicated to shaping young minds, and now I'm trapped in this metal cage," she writes, detailing the day her life shattered. Despite the despair surrounding her, Eve clings to the belief that education can be a lifeline, both for herself and her fellow inmates. She reflects on the power of literacy, recalling how it opened doors for her. "I want to ignite that spark in others," she pens, describing her efforts to start a reading group. Each word is a testament to her resilience, revealing her fierce determination to turn her experience into something constructive, not just for her own sake, but for those she can still inspire within the prison walls. Chapter 3. The Weight of Honor. Marcus the Brick Jenkins leans against the cold, unforgiving wall of his cell, grappling with the facade he has worn for years. In his diary entry, he writes about the distorted definition of honor that has governed his life. A code that once filled him with pride, but now feels like a heavy shackle. He paints vivid memories of the streets he once ruled, where bravado took precedence over vulnerability. As he reflects on the laughter shared with his crew, he acknowledges the loneliness that punctuates his confinement. Marcus pens the names of family members he has disappointed, haunted by the impact of his choices on their lives. It dawns on him that the bravest thing he may ever do is to shed the pretenses of toughness, revealing the scared boy underneath. Through this honesty, he begins to envision a path toward redemption, one that demands confronting his past instead of glorifying it. Chapter 4. Passion and Regret. Lena Rodriguez's diary entry begins with a vivid recollection of the moment her life spiraled out of control, the heated argument that led to her crime of passion. She writes about the intoxicating rush of love mingled with jealousy, capturing the raw emotions that clouded her judgment that fateful night. Through her reflections, Lena confronts the bittersweet memories of her children's laughter, juxtaposed against the stark silence of her cell. She expresses her regret over their shattered innocence and the emotional distance that prison has forced upon their relationship. In a poignant moment, Lena recalls writing letters to them, her words filled with hope and promises of reuniting, even as she grapples with guilt. Her heartfelt confessions unveil a mother's struggle to maintain connections while wrestling with the consequences of her actions, a testament to the complexity of love and loss in confinement. Chapter 5. Mentorship Behind Bars. In the dim light of the prison library, Thomas Doc Wilkins sits surrounded by dusty books, his weathered hands tracing the spines as if seeking comfort in their stories. With a voice that carries wisdom earned from decades of reflection, he begins his diary entry. Growing up in a world marred by violence and poverty, Doc shares his journey from troubled youth to institutionalization, ultimately leading to life behind bars. Now, a mentor to younger inmates, he finds purpose in guiding them toward brighter futures. "Every day I tell them," he writes, "you can choose to be defined by your mistakes or to rise above them." With each interaction, Doc fosters a sense of community, teaching them that vulnerability is not weakness but strength. Through shared stories, laughter, and heartfelt conversations, he cultivates hope, reminding his fellow inmates that redemption is always within reach, even behind the unforgiving walls of their prison. Chapter 6. Identity Crisis. Jamal J. Carter's world shifted dramatically the moment he stepped through the prison gates. In his first diary entry, he reflects on the chaos of his life before incarceration. Raised in a neighborhood where loyalty often outweighed morality, he felt the unrelenting pressure to fit in with gang culture. He recalls the adrenaline-fueled nights, searching for validation amidst the violence, and now grapples with the haunting question, was it worth the cost? As he writes, his thoughts reveal a young man caught between two identities, one forged by the streets, the other yearning for redemption. In a poignant moment of introspection, he expresses regret for the choices that led him here, yearning for a path of change, yet wrestling with the fear that it may be too late. This entry captures the turmoil of self-discovery amid confinement, igniting within him a flicker of hope for who he might become beyond these walls. Chapter 7. Connection in Isolation. In the oppressive silence of the cell blocks, where solitude could easily take root, unexpected friendships began to flourish among the inmates. Evelyn Eve Lewis, with her unwavering spirit, envisioned a select gathering, a reading group that would provide an oasis of connection. It started with an invitation slipped under the door to her closest neighbors, igniting curiosity and hope. As inmates gathered in a dimly lit corner of the cafeteria, laughter intertwined with the rustle of pages. Each session offered a glimpse into their disparate lives, fostering a bond that transcended the harsh realities of incarceration. Through shared stories and the power of words, Eve observed the transformation around her. Animosities faded, replaced by camaraderie and mutual encouragement. This collective endeavor became a sanctuary, reminding them all that even behind the concrete walls, the human spirit thrives best in community. Together they discovered that hope can sprout, even in the darkest corners. Chapter 8. Healing Through Storytelling. In the dim glow of the common room, Thomas Doc Wilkins gathered a small group of inmates, his voice steady and inviting. "Let me tell you a story," he began, drawing them closer. The room fell silent, filled with the distant clanking of metal and soft murmurs of fellow prisoners. Doc recounted a life-altering moment from his youth, a decision that led him down a dark path, away from his aspirations and into the depths of regret. As he spoke, the men's expressions shifted from skepticism to empathy, each finding echoes of their own experiences in his tale. Laughter broke the heaviness when Doc shared a humorous misstep, reminding them that vulnerability could spark connection. The power of storytelling wove an invisible thread among the inmates, fostering understanding and healing. They realized that sharing their stories not only lightened their burdens, but also stitched together a fragile community built on trust and resilience. Chapter 9. The Ripple Effect of Choices. Marcus sat on his bunk, pen hovering over a worn notebook, his heart heavy with the weight of his past decisions. Each word he wrote felt like a stone tied to the anchor of his soul. Stories of missed opportunities and anguished family visits flooded his mind. He recalled the laughter of his daughter, her bright eyes filled with innocence, unaware of the life choices that had led him to this stark cell. As he wrote about the pain of parental absence, Marcus felt the need to confront the truth. His choices didn't just affect him. They rippled through his family like waves crashing on distant shores. The guilt throbbed inside him, yet there was a flicker of resolve. He penned a letter to her, not with grand promises, but with an earnest plea for forgiveness. Through his words, he hoped to bridge the chasm created by his mistakes, a first step toward healing both his family and himself. Chapter 10. Moments of Joy. Amid the heavy atmosphere of the prison, fleeting moments of joy break through the darkness, reminding the inmates of their humanity. Lena reflects on a recent family birthday celebration, her heart swelling with joy as she recalls the sound of her children's laughter resonating through the visiting room. She can almost smell the cake, feel the warmth of their hugs, and the overwhelming sense of love that moment brought, a stark contrast to the sterile walls surrounding her now. Meanwhile, Eve beams as she describes her recent triumph in teaching a fellow inmate to read for the first time. The sparkle in that inmate's eyes, a mix of achievement and gratitude, fills Eve with renewed purpose. It's a reminder that even in confinement, they can create meaningful connections and learn from one another. These moments, though brief, shine bright like stars in the night, illuminating the path toward resilience and hope. Chapter 11. The Struggle for Forgiveness. Jamal slumped onto his bunk, the weight of his past pressing heavily on his chest. In his diary, he scribbled furiously, wrestling with the concept of forgiveness. The memory of his mother's tears during visitation haunted him, fueling a deep-seated self-loathing. "How could I have betrayed her trust?" he wrote, the ink smudging beneath his trembling fingers. In the yard, inmates gathered, their voices a low hum of shared experiences. Jamal listened as they discussed forgiveness. Some believed it was a luxury, while others viewed it as a necessity for peace. A particularly poignant conversation sparked something within him. "Can you ever truly forgive yourself?" he pondered. As night fell, the weight of judgment transformed into a glimmer of hope. He envisioned the day he could tell his mother he was sorry, not just with words, but through his actions. Deep down, he began to realize that the journey to forgiveness started with himself. Chapter 12. The Heartbeat of Community. In the dimly lit common area, laughter and conversation mingle with the distant echoes of metal doors. This is where the heartbeat of community pulsates, a sanctuary carved from despair. In a circle, inmates gather for group therapy, each sharing stories that weave intricate tapestries of shared experiences. Evelyn leads an art project, encouraging expressions of self through paint and poetry. As brushstrokes transform blank canvases, a sense of belonging blankets the room. Doc smiles as he listens to Jamal recite a poem about aspirations beyond these walls. The walls may confine them physically, but within this space, they thrive on mutual support and understanding. Conversations resonate with vulnerability, allowing the characters to confront their demons together. This chapter is a testament to the resilience found in camaraderie, illustrating that even in the bleakest surroundings, the bonds formed in hardship can spark hope and healing. Chapter 13. The Weight of Societal Judgments. In the dim light of the prison common area, the atmosphere is thick with unspoken fears. Evelyn pens a list of hopes for her life after prison, acknowledging the stigma that will shadow her. "How do I reclaim my identity?" she writes, confronting societal judgments that label her a criminal instead of a victim. Lena shares her own diary entry, expressing anxiety about reuniting with her children, fearing their rejection. "What if they see me through the bars? Not the mother I want to be," she muses. Marcus reflects, revealing the pressure he feels to prove himself as more than just the brick. "I'm haunted by how the world sees us," he writes, his vulnerability peeling back layers of bravado. Amid their struggles, a powerful discussion emerges. The weight of their pasts binds them together, revealing that while society may judge them harshly, the resilience forged within these walls can rewrite their futures, one step at a time.